Hey everyone, welcome back to the Promised Land podcast with me, Scott Saunders, talking all things Manchester United. I have not done a podcast yet since the end of the season, and finally it is all over. I think that's the most important thing. Finally, it is all over. We can just get this season out of the way. All the negativity, everything. United finishing 15th in the end, forget about it. It's all done. It's all out of the way. And finally, we can start looking forward. Hopefully, that's what Ruben Amorim wants anyway. This is the Promised Land podcast with me, Scott Saunders. Please subscribe on this channel. I'm on YouTube doing lives. If anybody is going to join on the YouTube doing lives, please subscribe to the channel, get in the comment section, like the video, and subscribe on YouTube as well. This will be going out as a podcast on Apple and Spotify. That's usually where the audience comes in. But yeah, going to be talking all about today Ruben Amorim's speech, Manchester United's performance in the Aston Villa game, and then also towards the end of the show, or as we get into it, lots of transfer news, because it seems like, well, Matheus Cunha is on his way in from Wolves. We've also got news today on Liam Delap potentially making a decision on who he will join this week. United feel like they can go get him. They're in Malaysia at the moment, but lots of new faces, I'm sure, will be coming in. Lots of players will be leaving as well. And just before I've jumped on here, it seems like United have been trying to get on board, or at least investigating the story, to try and go and get Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford as well. So, look, all those problems United had scoring goals last season, and the season is literally the season finished yesterday, right? Less than 24 hours since the season finished, and already it looks like United are getting moving, trying to address their problem areas in the attack. Please like the video if you've not done so already and you're joining. If this is the first time you're here, this is the Promised Land. It's usually on Apple and Spotify, but I'll try out some YouTube stuff as well. If you like what you hear or like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. But I'll start out by jumping into some reflections on what we've seen over the last couple of days in terms of how United did on the pitch, this kind of thing. Absolutely no surprise at all to see that Man United brushed aside Aston Villa and put in probably one of their best performances under Ruben Amorim, probably their best performance under Ruben Amorim, considering the opposition. Although United did get a bit lucky with that VAR call, which was an absolute travesty with the ball. Literally, Altay Bayindir dropping the ball or not collecting it, and luckily getting off with a referee's whistle. If the referee's whistle hadn't have gone, then surely that would have been a goal to put Villa ahead, and United surely wouldn't have come back from that. But it is what it is. United went on, rallied, and scored twice to win the game 2-0. And to be honest, they deserved to win. Bruno Fernandes came out afterwards and said, there was no pressure on us today, so it felt like we could play a little bit better. That's just... If that's not an encapsulation of what's wrong with Manchester United and what they need to address over the course of the summer, then, what is? The league position has been terrible. The whole season has been terrible. Losing the final last week was absolutely terrible as well. And Zachariah says there, what a season to forget. It absolutely is. The season is over. I just cannot wait to put it behind us. There's lots of negativity. So many bad news stories coming out of United. It seems like every day we get something. I've just seen before this that Michael Brown was saying yesterday that United should have given that goal back to Aston Villa that it didn't get yesterday. I'm so sick of this nonsense. So hopefully, like that, fingers crossed, that is as bad as it will ever get. Hopefully. And let's just hope this was a scenario of let's take the pain all at once, because I think United lost, 18 Premier League games, finishing 15th in the league, getting 42 points or whatever it was. That is literally the worst season I've ever seen United have, and hopefully it will be the worst season I ever see United have. But they have a hell of a lot of work to do, the people in the club, to address what is wrong with the football club and with the football team. So, look, I'm just so glad it's over. I don't know about you guys, but let me know in the comments. Steve, it's nice to see transfer targets that actually make sense. We need goals, and it looks like they're trying to buy goals, Moneyball style. And I will be talking about that, because it is that kind of vibe, isn't it? It really is. It's, United usually going after all these flashy big names, and this will be the guy to fix the whole problem. There's so many signings that United have made in the past, maybe not in the forward positions, but Ronaldo, for example, great example of he'll come back to the club, he'll fix everything and score a ton of goals for us, and then he'll fire us to the title. It just didn't work that way. It seems like the players that United are going after now is to try and build a team, and that's the first step to actually becoming a good team, is to buy players who you think might fit the system, might actually contribute to the team, and they all have something in common, I think, personality wise, and the way that they play, which I think hopefully can lead to United getting to the point where their team is playing and performing as greater than the sum of its parts. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Look, I'm going to be touching on some of the things that Ruben Amorim had to say after the game yesterday, because he addressed the crowd. He also did a post-match press conference. United are now in Malaysia, like I say, so I don't know whether we'll hear from him over the course of this week. But the likes of Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes did travel out there as well. It was pretty much a full squad that is out there now. And maybe we see them in United shirts for one final time, but obviously there's the speculation hanging around over Bruno Fernandes as well. Will he leave and join Al Hilal? There's reports and suggestions that they want to hear from him this week. But obviously, Bruno Fernandes then goes and hands Christian Eriksen a penalty on the final day of the season in Christian Eriksen's last appearance, which suggests that maybe it's actually not going to be Bruno's last appearance. And the noise out of Ruben Amorim is that we want him to stay. So, look, we'll see what happens. There's going to be a lot to unfold and unravel over the course of the summer, and the transfer window isn't even open yet. But United are putting some plans in place to address how bad this season has been. Right. Quote from Ruben Amorim's speech yesterday. We fight each other or we stick together and move forward. These are the two options that we have. 6 months ago, in my first 3 games in charge with 2 victories and 1 draw, I said to you that the storm is coming. Today, after this disastrous season, I want to tell you that the good days are coming. If there is one club in the world that proves in the past that it can overcome any situation, any disaster, it's our club, Manchester United. And it was, Erik ten Hag's done his speeches in the past, and that's look, I think he had a bit of stick for the one he did last year, or the year before that. This one was, Ruben Amorim, I don't think you can doubt really that he's got charisma and that he's got something about him. Something that I think a lot of people do believe means that he has the mettle to turn United around. It seems like the way that he dealt with Garnacho, according to the reports on Saturday, with what he said in the changing room, telling him to find a new club, feels like he's got the personality in order to force this change. And with United's terrible finish in the season, the clear out that we know has needed to happen over the course of the last decade or something like that, where United have held on to players too long, underperforming players for too long, players who have, not much to contribute to the highest top level. It seems like with United being out of Europe and with United being in a difficult financial situation, and with Ruben Amorim there, knowing that he needs to turn the attitude around and turn the motivation around and turn the desire around, it seems like, for me anyway, I think he's got the mettle to go and see this through, and United really have no excuse. It seems like this has to be the time where they go and make that deep cleanse, those deep changes. And Aaron here says, hi, Scott, glad to see you live. I fully believe in Ruben Amorim. Talking the talk is also a big part of this job. Now he needs to walk the talk and cement his position. Completely. I completely agree. That is what we need to see. He's obviously not done, from what everyone's perspective, he's not done enough with the team that he's had over the course of the season to make you truly believe that he is the guy that's going to turn all this around. But at the same time, he has had a lot of criticism for not changing his system, but he also then went and said yesterday I think either before the game and after the game, maybe, I'm so glad I joined the club 6 months early. So I just wanted to touch on this because I feel like this is really important. And yes, Ruben Amorim could have got his way and he could have joined the club like now. He could have been coming in like now or for the start of next season. But he came in November and has seen over the worst Manchester United team, and he's called them that as well, the worst Manchester United team that I think we have seen in our lifetime. The worst Manchester United team in history is what he said. But he said, I'm so glad I joined 6 months early. And I think that's really important. And I think United probably had, when they were forcing him to come in November and saying it was now or never, that was probably to get his take on the playing squad, because we all know, and it's been widely reported, and we all get that sense that United's first team squad, there's something wrong within it. I've spoken about this numerous times as well, that there's something culturally wrong within Manchester United. He's now come in since the start of November and has had 6 months-ish to work out which of the players he wants to take forward. He's had a lot of stick for sticking with the system that he's been using, but he's also been able to play the system not to its full degree and full function, but he's also been able to play the same system that he wants to play moving forward. And he's got to understand which players can fit in which positions within this system as well. So that's helped how United will go into the transfer market. He's had a chance to, I'm going to take an example here of Andre Onana. You know, maybe if he'd have joined now after the season had finished, maybe United wouldn't have been in a position to make that judgment on Onana. Whether he stays or not, I'm not entirely sure yet, but I'm sure if United got a good offer for Andre Onana this summer, then he could probably end up going. And it seems like suggestions and reports have come out saying that Ruben Amorim wants to sign a new goalkeeper anyway. How high up the pecking order, I don't know that is, but looking at this situation, I think United would be they so need a new number one goalkeeper, or at least somebody to come in and compete with Andre Onana, just simply because of the amount of errors that he's made over the course of the past and the amount of panic that he kind of sets in to the defense around him. It just seems like there's what you want in a goalkeeper. You saw it at Emi Martinez yesterday as well. Like, just get me a goalkeeper that is not completely mad and like one is normal. Like, you know, it's so remarkable to say. Just get me somebody who doesn't make mistakes and isn't too much of a fuss. And we don't spend all of our time talking about the goalkeeper's mistake after a game. It's always something. Always seems to be something. So we'll see what United do there. But, you know, another thing here, Ruben Amorim has got 6 months or so to work with the likes of Alejandro Garnacho, and he's already made his mind up on Garnacho and has told him effectively to leave. So United will end up selling him. He's had 6 months to learn the player's faults and strengths, and he now has had 6 months or so to get to know the people that he's working with, your Jason Wilcoxes, your Omar Baradas, these kinds of people, to go into next season armed with knowledge that will help United move forward. Now, if he had joined now, or if he had joined on the 1st of July or the 1st of June or the 30th of June or something like that, then we probably would have had these teething problems with Amorim in charge throughout next season. And I would like to see United turn this corner as quickly as they possibly can. And I think if United do end up turning that corner, and in a year's time we're talking about United being in a far better place, then I think it probably would have been worth the pain that we've been through. Obviously, there's a lot of people who are hesitant to say that United are through this pain period because it has been a consistent trend of down over the course of the last few years. No matter who's been in charge, no matter who is, you know, director of football, these kinds of things. But, you know, he's got to learn something else as well. Like Bruno Fernandes said in the game after the Aston Villa game, which was one of their best performances. He said there was no pressure and we felt like we could perform on the day because there was nothing riding on the game. And look, Bruno has admitted that publicly, and he said that he admitted it to Casemiro that kind of frustrates him about this team. That kind of attitude has to be eradicated. And if Ruben Amorim will have had a front row seat to knowing how these players are feeling, knowing how they're thinking, knowing how they act in pressure situations, and now he's going to need to step away and go on holiday for a little while, I'm sure, and like reset his head. But he can come back in knowing that I need to make this change. I need to make this change. I need to make this change, and we'll move forward. Fingers crossed. Anyway, and that's this season has been so bad. It has been so bad. But for me now, I'm just so glad that it's over, and it's time for me to leave that terrible season behind and start looking forward. And that was what his message was in the post-match address yesterday to the Old Trafford crowd. So. Just keep your comments coming in, guys. I'll find some time over the course of the stream to come back to them. Please like the stream if you've not done so already as well. And subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. This will also go out as an audio on Apple and Spotify as well, the Promised Land and Manchester United podcast. So really appreciate the support, and keep the comments coming in, like the video, all that jazz. But I'm going to be talking about some transfer news because it seems like, we're not even, the game kicked off at 2:00 yesterday. So it's 24 hours or so since that Aston Villa game kicked off, and United played pretty well obviously. They had some difficulties at times, but they did spend most of the time penning Aston Villa in. And this was an Aston Villa that had lots to play for on the day. They ended up losing. It was obviously difficult for them, knowing that they had the one big chance that they had, which was born out of Altay Bayendia's mistake. The ball went in, but at the same time, it was, it wasn't given. And like ultimately, if Villa had that goal scored, and like if that had counted, then you doubt that Aston Villa would have conceded 1 or 2 goals, given how United are reacting in pressure situations and what their previous record has been of reacting to going a goal down over the past few weeks. But that I think that mentality has probably, and the financial situation as well, has probably led United to deciding that. And this is a report that's come out today. There's been loads and loads of transfer news today. And it will probably stand us instead for what we have in the weeks to come. But offers will be considered for everyone. That's pretty much been the message for a good few weeks and a good few months now, with some exceptions. Obviously, there have been some untouchables that have been described as like your likes of Bruno Fernandes in the past, Lenny Yoro, Ahmad, these kinds of players have all at times been described as untouchables. But with United not in the Champions League next season now, I don't think there's any reason, as unpopular as some sales would be, I don't think there's any reason really for United to. No, I'm not saying you don't want to lose faith in all these players, because I think some of these players can still have really good careers at United. But at the same time, United are in a position where they need to rebuild. And if they get an offer of 100 million for Bruno Fernandes, obviously, or something like that, then they should absolutely consider it. And I think that is still the situation. As I record this, there's still no news on what will happen there, even though there's been a suggestion from The Athletic since the season has finished that the deal on the table for Bruno Fernandes is 80 million pounds, not 100. I think that maybe changes the conversation and changes the picture, because you look at Bruno Fernandes and the fact that he's down on the books as 0 and you'd make pure profit on any transfer fee you got for him. It's going to need to be a deal that's completely worth your while, that you can go and reinvest. And if the deal is over 100 million pounds, I think you can probably look at that and think, well, United really, it's a difficult decision to end up selling him, but at the same time, I think it is the right decision simply because of the position that United are in. If it's 80 million quid, how far does that money go? And then, things get chipped off at all times. And with the influence that Bruno has, it's always a really, really difficult balance to know what the amount should be. But I think I've been waiting. I've been saying it for a good while now that I think one unpopular sale at least is coming. We wait and see. Bruno's on the tour, like I say, the postseason tour. So I don't imagine anything will be. I'd imagine he'll play in 1 or 2 of those matches, because I think United have 2 matches there. But I'll want an answer from him this week. So we'll find out at some point soon whether he's staying or whether he's going. And I'll be here to talk about it whenever we do get a decision. So, look, I think transfer-wise, I'm going to talk about the outs first. And I just mentioned Bruno Fernandes there as a possible out. We've talked about Garnacho on a previous episode as well. You can go back on the channel and find that video about Garnacho, which I recorded on, I think, Saturday afternoon, just after the news came out that Amorim had told him to effectively get out. Go back and check that out. I'm not going to do too much more Garnacho now. But what we did see yesterday was Christian Eriksen, Victor Lindelof, and Johnny Evans all saying goodbye to the United crowd. And I think, look, to put it in numbers and put it in context, that is £335,000 a week in wages off the wage bill, like confirmed. From the end of June, I think it is, when their contracts expire, that is £335,000 a week off the wage bill, which is essentially equivalent to one Casemiro or one Bruno Fernandes. That is a lot of money. And United are going to need to make more cuts as well, because they're obviously not in Europe, so they don't need as big a squad. And there will be some other players to go, probably a lot of them for money. Just a word as well. I think Christian Eriksen, depending on which situation and which system he's been used in, he had a really good first 6 months or so when he joined, barring a couple of early performances. But once Erik ten Hag found a settled formation with Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes, and Christian Eriksen and Casemiro in central midfield, United played pretty well for a while. And I think Christian Eriksen, he's not really been in this team. It's not really settled. He's not really had a settled position in this system. And he's not really been able to show his true self and his best self. But he had some really good moments. And it's a shame that it didn't work out for him. It's definitely the right decision to see him go. And I wish him the best in everything that he does moving forward, wherever he goes. And just seeing some comments coming in there. I'll address the comments as we go along. But we've got look, Johnny Evans, complete club legend. Nice for the club to say goodbye to him in the way that they did yesterday at Old Trafford. Nice for him to get a send-off. It would have been nice to see him take the penalty that Eriksen took, but, it is what it is. And Victor Lindelof as well, who has, I think, not to be cruel or mean, I think Victor Lindelof has been pretty solid, pretty steady, but I think we all looked at Victor Lindelof a good 2-3 years after he joined United and thought maybe after he had that, he had a really good period alongside Harry Maguire, but after that, the jury was out, and I think he ended up staying about 3-4 years too long. And that's just a case of how United have not been able to offload players on massive wages well beyond, that they've stayed well beyond what they should have stayed for. So, I think there's a lot of players still in the club that are in that position. And United need to go and do a proper old spring clean, I think, on this squad. And I think £335,000 in wages a week off the wage bill already. There will be more, I'm sure, to come off. There'll be some transfer fees to come in for the likes of Garnacho and for potentially Bruno Fernandes, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, these kinds of players. Chelsea got in the Champions League yesterday. Did they end up taking the deal on Jadon Sancho? We'll wait and see. But yeah, United have to do selling really well. They have to go about getting enough money coming back in because of their PR position, so they can the PSR position, so they're able to go and reinvest it. And they do have, as we know, some money in the bank already to go and commit to deals like Matheus Cunha, and that is the first deal that is essentially confirmed to be done. We had a confirmation last night that the deal was effectively done, barring some signings. And I think verbal agreement is there. Verbal agreement is the point that we're at the moment. And United will probably confirm that at some point in the next week or two, I would imagine. But that deal is effectively done for Matheus Cunha, and he is a perfect fit for the number 10 role, I think, given the ability that he has to dribble, the ability he has to score and assist as well. It is a good start to the summer for Manchester United, I think. This isn't the most and I don't think any of these players are. They're not the most glamorous signings. Cunha has a bit of shine about him because he's obviously got that technical ability, which is really to die for. I think he scored some big goals against the likes of Tottenham and Chelsea, and he's shown that he can score from essentially anywhere. And United need that bit of magic in that position, in one of the 10 positions. Because when Bruno Fernandes doesn't play in there, it's invariably United find it really difficult to create chances and convert chances as well. So they need to probably address their attack as soon as possible. And Cunha's been in the works for a long time. So it is good to see that deal is on its way to being done. There is suggestions that he's been promised Marcus Rashford's number 10 shirt as well. So I'm sure that when the announcement is made, he will be rocking up holding that number 10 shirt in the air. And hopefully, at the age of 26, I think he is now, hopefully he can go out there and show that he's ready to make that step up and deal with the pressure that I've talked about at the start of the show, that don't deal with pressure very well. And Bruno Fernandes has admitted as such that is a problem in the dressing room, and he's admitted that publicly. So United need to deal with that. They need to get characters who are able to take that on their shoulders as well. And there's hope that Matheus Cunha can be one of those players to come in, shoulder the burden, and start delivering numbers. Let's I'll just run through your comments just a second. Right. Let's have a look. Zakaria again says, Manchester United cannot give the manager everything. The club has to buy players for the club because the next manager could hate the new players. Anthony was a manager purchase. I completely agree. And I think that is something that United need to get right in this transfer window. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, and me included, that still believes that Ruben Amorim can be the one to turn this around. But we've been in this position in the past where we've had managers who've had, Ruben Amorim hasn't even had a good spell yet, really. But we have seen managers in the past that have had good spells. And then the question has always been, Do we end up buying for this manager? Do we buy the players that he wants? Do we progress with the signings that he wants? And then invariably, they either don't commit enough to get the most out of what that manager wants for that team, or it ends up they give a couple more, like 2, 3 signings or whatever it is. Jose Mourinho's case, I think, is a good example. And then United end up falling flat on their faces, and then the manager ends up losing his job. It's really important here, and I think this is a big difference. There's a completely different transfer team in charge now. Even compared to last summer, like Christopher Vivell, who is now the head of recruitment at Manchester United. I think he is, I forget his exact title, but he is now the head of recruitment or in an equivalent role. And he was in a temporary berth in United's setup this time last year. United last year had Dan Ashworth waiting to be appointed, waiting to come into his role. They had a decision that they hadn't made on Erik ten Hag. And what they ended up doing last year was signing some players for Erik ten Hag's system and Erik ten Hag's behest. And they've admitted this as well. I think Jim Ratcliffe admitted this. And they signed some players who were the kind of players that I think we'll end up seeing more of now. So, it's a really, really difficult balance that United have to get right. They have to start targeting players that are physically able to play Premier League football, physically able to run in this Amorim system, technically good enough to be able to deal with the demands of what Amorim wants. And also, as well, not be so fixed to a certain role or certain position that if for whatever reason, Ruben Amorim ends up not working out, and there's a chance that happens. If that is the case, they cannot be stuck again. They have to sign players for a specific idea of how they want to play football, not for a club idea, not for a specific manager's idea of how to play football. The common theme should be the United are signing players who are athletic, who are quick, who are technically able to win one-on-ones, to get to second balls, so these kinds of things. They are the important things that United identify, and they'll also need to be malleable enough to play one of these roles in Ruben Amorim's system. I think that's what they're doing with like Cunha, for example. If he doesn't work as one of the 210s, he is a number 10 as well, a second striker. So you can potentially use him in a different system. Although I think what the Matheus Cunha they've seen at Wolves is probably a perfect fit for what Amorim wants in his system as well. So it's good to see that Cunha's deal is effectively over the line. I'm just going to check my social media feed now just to see if there's anything different that's come up since I've started recording. Not that I have seen anything, but let's crack on, I think. Okay, right. We have got Matheus Cunha done. Get your questions in if you've not done so already as well, and I'll try and come to them in a second. But I'm going to be talking about Liam DELAP and Bryan Mbeumo as well, because these are signings that, look, they're not there. There's every chance that United don't get any of these players. But it seems today, right? And I've been an advocate of this. 1 second. I've been an advocate of Manchester United going and getting an exciting, established, expensive, experienced centre forward who can guarantee a certain amount of goals. And that was my pick, was Victor Gyökeres, right? But it seems now that after United have missed out on the Champions League and Gyökeres he's got interest from Arsenal, the likes of Chelsea as well. I don't know where he ends up going. We'll wait and see. It seems like he wants Champions League football, and it seems like United, as it stands, are out of the race. It seems like that's the case. So that's just the way that it's going to have to be. Ultimately, like, I would have much preferred that United went and got that kind of option. He's played under Amorim before. He's played in English football before and scored a lot of goals in the Championship, so that's super important. He would have been a lot more expensive than Liam DELAP, though. I thought that striker would have been a risk worth taking. But at the same time, United now have advanced with the deal for Liam DELAP, and I think they've made a strong case to sign him from Ipswich, £30 million release clause. And I think it's whoever gets him is a really, really good value deal. I think the concern really is that will United be putting too much stock and too much belief in a 22-year-old player when we know that pressure is so massive for players to deliver at Manchester United? It's a hell of a step up for Liam DELAP if he does get this decide to make this transfer and does come in as United's first choice number 9, which is how it's looking at the moment. There's obviously Newcastle are in the race, Chelsea are in the race, there's some other teams in the race as well. He could quite easily and quite possibly end up picking another club, and United might have to look somewhere else for another striker. But I think what he wants or what he's looking for is a guarantee of minutes that United now might be able to give him, because there's no commitments in Europe. Premier League football is the absolute most important thing for Manchester United next season. I think the most important thing as well is for Ruben Amorim to get an 11 that he knows that he can trust, that he can work with, and try and stick to that 11 for often as possible, to establish and get the best out of the system that he wants to play. The kinds of players he's going to need in that system, for me, I've talked about this many times, but is players who can run, players who can hold, especially in his position, hold the ball up. He's good at that. Carry the ball, he's good at that. He scored 12 goals in Ipswich his first season in the Premier League. I think their only season in the Premier League in recent years. But he's shown that he has adapted to Premier League football. And he's decently imposing figure. He is not by any means the finished article at all. But I think United now, the place that they're in, this is the market that they have to shop in. What they have to make sure of is that they're signing players who they think can get a high enough level in Premier League football and deliver in Premier League football, but maybe that are slightly undervalued. And I think Liam Delap falls into that category. And if they are able to get the best out of Liam Delap, if he scores 10, 15 goals next season in the Premier League, or possibly up to 20 goals in the Premier League, his value skyrockets. And United have then got a decision right in the transfer market. If they'd ended up spending like 70 million on Gyökeres or however much it was, and he didn't have the kind of season that people anticipated him having, then that would go down as another one of United's infamous flops. So, look, I'm not sure entirely what's going to happen with Liam Delap at the moment, but it seems like all the suggestions are that Delap is leaning towards United, and I don't know if that is the case. He could quite easily pick somewhere else, and you wouldn't blame him for picking somewhere else, but at the same time, it feels like United are trying to build a team here, and that is what I think the Bryan Mbeumo talk is as well. I think, look, I think he's got 20 goals in the Premier League this season. This is, if you haven't seen the reports, there's news from Ben Jacobs, Alex Crook from TalkSport as well, that United are talking to Bryan Mbeumo about potentially moving to United. He's in, I think, the last year of his contract, £50 million-ish transfer fee for him. And then that, to me, again, like we've seen United's attack completely miss chance after chance after chance. They've been so toothless in the Premier League this season. And we saw how toothless they were in the Aston Villa game on Sunday, up until they scored. Like, it was a story for most of the day, for 70 minutes or so, that United were banging on the door, but ultimately failing to put the ball in the net. And had it not been for that whistle which came, United might have ended up losing the game because they weren't able to score and they gave up some stupid mistake at the other end and they ended up losing. That's the story that we've seen so many times over the course of the season. And what United are looking to do, I think, at the moment, smartly for me, is try and sign Premier League players. So Cunha is, I'm just going to dig up the Premier League top scorers. Cunha has scored a fair few goals this season in the league. He's 8th. 15 goals from Matheus Cunha in the Premier League this season. You've then got Bryan Mbeumo on 20. So both of these players in teams that finished in similar positions or slightly above United, these are players that have scored 35 goals between them. And if you add Liam Delap's goals, he is joint 14th and scored 12. So all of these players have had experience over the last season of scoring goals in the Premier League. And yes, picking them up and putting them into Manchester United is a completely different pressure cooker. But at the same time, these players have shown that in hardworking teams who struggle to beat, they're punching above their weight. Brentford especially, they punch above their weight, definitely. All of these players have had experience of scoring goals in teams which are considered inferior in the Premier League, even if they're better than United by league position, this kind of thing. But, that is a striker that works really hard, that chases, in Liam Delap's case, a striker that runs around, can score goals, can hold the ball up, can bring other people into play, chases balls down channels, this kind of thing. That is what Ruben Amorim is going to want out of a striker. You've then got Matheus Cunha in potentially that number 10 role, who has that extra bit of magic, is able to dribble past players, is able to carry the ball, is able to link up with other players. That, to me, two of those players there, they do instantly look like they fit into the system that Amorim wants to play, right? And then you add Mbeumo into this, who is the most prolific out of the three of them, has had an incredible few years for Brentford, and just looks like he's ready and primed for a step up. And I think there's a lot of players or a lot of clubs in this league that could really do with a player like Bryan Mbeumo. And I think plenty of people are positive on him that I've seen. I would be too. I think that there then, if you ended up, United might have to raise some money through potential Garnacho sale or something like that to go and get a third deal for Bryan Mbeumo done. Let's presume that Cunha and DELAP does end up being finalised. And Mbeumo probably would be the next priority. And then that's a front three there that you've added, 52 goals, 52 Premier League goals from this season into that team for Manchester United. And I don't even think they scored 52 goals in the Premier League last season, which is, let's see, 44. United scored 44 goals last season. So those three players that they're targeting are all more prolific than United were as a complete team throughout the entirety of last season, which is absolutely crazy. But it's the right way to go about it for me in terms of team building. It's the right way to go about it. So we'll see what Mbeumo does and what happens with him. I do think he'll leave Brentford at some point in the summer. We'll wait and see who offers the best package, this kind of thing. Maybe he moves abroad, I don't know. But it seems to me like Bryan Mbeumo is the kind of player who is ready to make a step up in the Premier League. And I don't think there's another team really who is as good a fit for at the moment with the kinds of players. Like they're all seem to be good personalities as well in terms of how they contribute to the team. You know, you look at all those Brentford players in that team. They've been recruited by Brentford through, data analytics, and they found these players from all different parts of the world, and they've brought them into the Premier League, and they've managed to overperform their status. And Mbeumo has become one of the stars of that team. And that is ultimately where United need to get to. They need to build a team which is going to be, in the end, greater than the sum of its parts. And if you're signing players from clubs like that who build teams and get the teams to perform at a high level, then really you could think that they slot in the right place, and hopefully United can mesh them together and start performing better than they have been. So it's undoubted, really, that United have not been able to say that this team has been greater than the sum of its parts since, as I've said on a recent podcast, since 2013. Remember that team that United won the Premier League with in 2013 under Sir Alex Ferguson? You look at the team now, you can go back and look at it, the starting 11 that was picked then in them days. It was not United's greatest team. It was not United's greatest team. Yo, blah, blah, blah says, first time I catch this live. It's only the second time I've actually done this live in months and months and months. So thanks for joining. Please like the stream if you've not done so already. I'm just going to run through some questions as well. So get them in. I'll be wrapping up pretty soon. But what's in Mbeumo's position? 10. So I would imagine that he will be potentially the right 10 to line up. Let's say that in a ideal world here, it seems like United will go and end up getting Matheus Cunha. If DELAP decides to join them, potentially him. And then if United are moving for Bryan Mbeumo, that would make sense, as he would be the right-sided number 10, Cunha the left-sided number 10, Liam DELAP the striker. So we will see what happens. Would like more regular podcasts, as Mehar. I'm doing like daily podcasts at the moment. You can get them on Apple and Spotify, but I think over the course of the summer, there should be lots of transfer news to talk about. So I feel like I can probably do more YouTube lives, and we'll see how we go. If you'd like to join, please do. Chris says, Mbeumo's 20 goals and 8 assists in the Premier League, 48 goals and 30 assists and 130 for Brentford. We absolutely need him. Yeah, agree completely. It's the thing for me is, I think you look at those numbers, it's great. I think the difference here is that he's not the type of superstar signing that United have made in recent years, and maybe that might be the one that or the thing that maybe makes people doubt it. But I think if you're looking to build a team that is effective, I really think Bryan Mbeumo is like a top pick. DELAP can't hold the ball. Stop saying it. I think he can. I think he can. You just watch him. uh, they wouldn't be signing him otherwise. Do I miss the 9-minute cups? Yeah, I do. I do. That's a chapter that's gone though. Louis says, thoroughly enjoy your videos. Hope you're well. Thanks very much, mate. Really appreciate the comment. Aaron says, Maguire, is he one of the untouchables? Maybe yes. I think probably he is. For this year anyway. Look, if United got a good offer for Harry Maguire, I'm sure they'd end up selling him. He's got 1 year left on his deal, though. I think that, to me, I have concerns about him fitting into this team. I think United really need to play with a higher line. I do have reservations about Maguire's use on the ball and his speed, these kinds of things. Not doubting his character at all. I think the way that he's responded to all the stick and all the criticism that he had over the past, he's had a really difficult middle spell of his United career. The way he's bounced out of that and the way he's stood up, and it's really, really promising. But I think in terms of the player that he is and what United will need from their central defense moving forward, I think they will need to improve it at some point. It's just that might not be this season or this summer. We'll wait and see. Just come into some more comments. Let's have a look. Ansab says, his decision on Garnacho, Ruben Amorim's decision, it's exactly what we need. It's showing it doesn't matter if you're an effective homegrown talent or even one of our best, the team comes first. Yeah, exactly. That's the point that United need to get to. And Garnacho has been, I think he'll have a great career. I honestly do. I don't know where he's going to go yet. There's some suggestions that Antonio Conte is going to end up leaving Napoli in typical fashion after winning it. But it is... the team is the most important thing here. You got to bring in players that are going to run all day, that can fit the system, obviously, but have the fundamentals to be able to play in the system that Ruben Amorim wants to play. I think Garnacho in time probably could have got there, but there's just too many flashpoints off the pitch and too many social media posts which get him in a bit of trouble. A little bit immature, and I think it's probably the right thing for United to cash in on him at the moment. As unpopular as the decision might be for a few people, it is, and as much as Garnacho might go somewhere else and look an absolute world beater in 3-4 years' time, which is that is completely possible. But the team is the most important thing at the moment. United are in a position where I don't think they can wait out these kinds of problems. If Garnacho was ready and completely happy to sit in the squad and sit among the squad and come in as a substitute or a rotation player moving forward and adapt more slowly to one of the positions that Ruben Amorim wanted him to play in, then United could potentially do it. But with the money, the fact that they need money, the fact that he's a homegrown player with no book value, it's pure profit for any sale of him, and the attitude problems, this kind of thing, it's not a position that United are really in at the moment where they can keep hold of players like that. If you get a good bid, and especially if the coach doesn't want you, he's made it clear. It's Grace says, hello, would you sell Bruno? Did touch on this a little bit earlier. My position is yes. I haven't, although it depends on the money. If United are getting a 100 million bid, and we'll see what the bid is from Al Hilal, if it's 100 million or more, I think United are in a position really where that's the kind of money that you have to take in order to rebuild. Because I don't see, for me, if United are signing Mbeumo, Cunha, and DELAP, for example, if they're signing those players, that means Bruno Fernandes is probably going to end up in one of the two midfielder roles, which is where he's played over the last week or so. I know not everybody is super keen on him in there, but I don't see at the moment, is there a natural fit for him? Does he stick out as one of the natural number 8s? Not to me. I think he could do a job there and will continue to do a job there if he stays, but is he quick enough and able to carry the ball far enough for number 10? Probably not the ideal fit for what Amorim wants either. So it's apologies, guys. I had a cough that's absolutely stuck with me for way too long. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the money. If it's an 80 million bid from Al Hilal, as was reported yesterday, it is, that's a different conversation. I think the deal has to be exceptional in order to sell. Ahmad is easy money to make from selling. I wouldn't Yeah, potentially, but there isn't really any interest in him as far as I know at the moment. And it seems like the position that he played in yesterday at right wing back is the right position for him to play. And we'll see if he can add that extra dimension as a winger for United moving forward. But look, I'm going to have to wrap it up there, guys. Been really appreciated your comments, your support. I'm absolutely going to. I can't stop coughing, so I think it's probably the right time for me to wrap up. But it's been 45 minutes anyway. Really appreciate you joining the stream. I will do more of these, and hopefully this cough goes at some point. I will do more of these, so please get in touch in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel as well. The whole take on this is the Promised Land, the Manchester United podcast, is not going to come and shout and scream at you. It is just super important for me to a difficult time for just some kind of reasoned conversation. That's my whole approach. It's not going to be the loudest out there. It's just, let's have a look at the situation, stay positive, this kind of thing. Cavonia, I know I've been taking cough medicine, this kind of thing just will not go. Kerwin says, are we really trying to sign Mbeumo? Yeah, check Twitter. It looks like United are trying to go get him. Whether they will, who knows? But look, I'm going way too off piece here. But yeah, please subscribe, get in the comment section. If you want audio of this, I will upload these as audio conversations as well on Spotify and Apple, the Promised Land, Manchester United podcast as well. So if you do like these, it's good for everybody to join, and really appreciate your support, guys. Get in touch, get in the comment section, and I'll see you soon for another Promised Land podcast. I'm sure that over the summer, there's going to be plenty to talk about. Until next time.